I'm going to talk a little bit about what I have learned in the last, since about 1999 or 2000 on cooking turkey. Then I'm going to, before I do anything, yeah, the perfect bird is a ham. Yeah, well, that's, it's less kosher that way. You gotta get a kosher ham if that's gonna be. No, I'm just kidding. But so I'm sitting down to do Thanksgiving dinner, and I was getting all recipes. Of course, you go to your family, right? So my grandmother's recipe for making cranberry sauce, cranberry relish, and which, by the way, super easy. Cranberry sugar, you can use the microwave. But what she would always do, and I love, is chop up a navel orange or an orange, just chop up the whole thing into little sections, even with the peel on it, and just put that in there with your cranberries and then the sugar and mix it all up and cook it down, and it's all good. So that's, pro tip number one. So here's the thing about the turkey. My uncle, and so this is a big props to my uncle, who I'm going to visit next week, actually, out in California. Uh, he used to own a restaurant. He's a chef. He was trained as a chef in France and did pastries, all kinds of great stuff. And I absolutely um, like to, he knows when the phone rings on Thanksgiving that it's one of us reminding us how to cook the turkey. And here's what we have to think about. There's a couple of inherent problems with the turkey, and I'll just say I'm not one who does the giant, 18-pound turkey. I've never done that. Usually for me, a big turkey might be 14 to 16 pounds. Usually it's on the smaller side. So I'm usually cooking a hen. It's enough for, reasonable sized family gatherings and still have room for some leftovers when you're all done, right? So it's not the massive turkey that I'm cooking. But a turkey is a fundamentally challenging thing to cook, because if you've studied this at all, you know that it's really two parts. There's the dark meat on the bottom, the legs, the thighs, and then there's the breast meat on the top, the white meat. And the problem is fundamental problem of this is that they're not done at the same temperature. So that's problem number one. You've got white meat that will start drying out before the dark meat is really at its optimum. It'd still be cooked, but it's less optimized. And and then you've got other factors going in. It's a very large thing. It takes a long time to cook. So if you follow the traditional, on the the instructions for cooking your turkey on the back of the or on the packaging or whatever you might see, it'll say, cook your turkey at 350 degrees for 5 hours or what, based on the weight. And if you do that, you will have a fully cooked turkey, and it will be probably pretty dried out. And everyone at your Thanksgiving will be saying, pass the gravy, because your turkey will be kind of dry. So what you really want to do is cook the turkey quickly, seal in those juices. Now, I have never deep fried a turkey, but I have my old college roommate did one time. I went out there and he did it. It was outstanding. But that's not only messy, it can be dangerous, right? I mean, the frying oil everywhere. You don't want to do. So I'm sticking to more traditional techniques. But a deep fried turkey, if you do it, is amazing because it seals all the juices in. That oil just sealed everything in. Um, so where can we go from here? So we've got this large piece of meat that we're trying to cook with bones inside. And it's two compartments, two components. Well, so the first thing I want to start out by saying is that if you follow the instructions, not only the time, but the temperature, or use that little pop-up timer that's in the turkey that sometimes comes, you're also probably going to get a dry bird. That's unfortunate, but that's because the temperature required, the temperature, the recommended temperature, what I'm trying to say here, is just too high. And partly it's not wrong. It's just that your turkey will continue to cook if you let it rest on the counter You pull it from the oven and it's going to rest. That temperature is going to keep going up. So the trick, it turns out, is a couple of fold. It doesn't really matter how you prepare your turkey, but I always cook the turkey unstuffed. I will put aromatics inside, like cinnamon, apples, sage, or that kind of stuff. Maybe some rosemary in the cavity. But you pull everything else out, you get it out of there. You want your turkey to be dry. I have done wet brining, where you soak it overnight. That comes out nicely. Apparently, if you want to crispy your skin, you can do dry brining. So you make the turkey brine with kosher salt and pepper and all kinds of spices. But the real key here with this whole thing is cooking it fairly quickly and pulling it at the right temperature. And that's going to make all the difference. So the first time I tried this method was, again, it was like 25 years ago now. And it's a funny story because everybody came over to my place for Thanksgiving, including my PhD advisor and his partner, and we're all there. And I cooked this turkey, and it came out just so great, and it was so tender. My PhD advisor went back for thirds, I think, and he is a guy who was never one to give out superlatives about anything. Nice job on your research. No, of course not. Jason, that was the best turkey I've ever had on Thanksgiving. So it meant a lot coming from him. So anyway, the key then is to have a thermometer, a probe thermometer, and preferably one with an alarm. And we're going to start the turkey off in a hot oven. But before we start, it's very important. If you're going to cook your turkey, you have to have your apron. So I've got my kitchen bitch apron because that's how I roll today. Because we're not talking photography, we're talking a cooking show, and we want to have some lighthearted fun here. So you get your turkey, you dry it off, you put whatever seasonings you're going to do on it, but we're going to leave the stuffing or dressing out because we want it to cook more quickly. We want that body cavity to be open. And then the key here is your thermometer. Now, I had a probe thermometer for a long time with the cord, and it was on an alarm with a timer. And these are great. It had a magnet on it. So this probe, you can put it in your turkey and you can set an alarm. And this is the real key here. You set the alarm for the maximum temperature so that when that alarm goes off, you pull the turkey out and let it rest. So the question then is, you know, how to do this? Well, lately and more recently, if you want to get really fancy, you can actually use two probes, one in the breast and one in the thigh. And the thigh meat is supposed to be a little warmer. You want it to be hotter than the breast. I'll get to that in a second. And there's an article I'm going to share where I got a lot of these tips, but it also works in with what my uncle said. So what my uncle told me to do was start by preheating the oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, so you'll have to do the math. And what I did was set the turkey in there, and every 30, and I cook it for 30 minutes, 450 degrees. And then at the end of the 30 minutes, you turn your oven down to 350 and go for another 30 minutes. And you keep alternating this temperature every 30 minutes until the turkey is done. And what I found, it works quite well. And what I found was that I cook a 13 and a half pound turkey in about 2 hours this way. It cooks much more quickly than you would expect. So that was a revelation. But the important thing is to have that thermometer probe that you can use. And I've got two. So a couple years ago, I was out shopping and I found this set. This is really cool. These are a dual thermometer probe, and they're Bluetooth. So they're wireless, and you can put two in or have two different things going, and it connects to your smartphone via an app, and you can monitor the temperature of your turkey. So if you only have one, what you're going to do, according to stuff that I've read, is you want to start at the back of the bird, in the thickest part of that breast, right in this way. And you want to go in there and not touch the bone. You want it to be in the thickest part and get it in there. And if you have a second one and you want to put it in the thigh between the leg and the thigh there, you can go with that. So then, what's the magic number? It's the temperature, right? Well, it turns out that if you pull out your turkey when it's 165 degrees, like I mentioned, it's going to keep cooking. And if it gets to 180, oh boy, you're just talking about turkey jerky at that point. So the magic number is actually a little bit lower than what you might expect. And going around and looking at various sources online, the most recent one that I've come up with is that or that I've found, and I'll put a link to this in there, is that you want to pull the turkey when the breast temperature is about 157 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you do that, you might be thinking, well, why would I do this? It's not high enough because the temperatures are there to kill. You want your bird to reach a certain temperature to kill any potential salmonella or whatever. And that, that being the big one, right? You don't want salmonella in your Thanksgiving, which is another reason why I recommend cooking your turkey without any stuffing inside it. Cook it separately, use the drippings, whatever. But I know it's different, but it's safer that way. Well, it turns out there's a chart here on this website that I'll share. It turns out that at 157 degrees, the turkey needs to be at that temperature for 50 seconds, 50.4 seconds to lethally wipe out salmonella. And the reality is that when you pull that turkey out, two things are going to happen. One, it's definitely going to be 157 degrees for more than 50 seconds. And two, it's going to keep cooking a little bit. The temperature is actually going to keep increasing with that thermal inertia that it has, right? So it's totally cool. So you can have your probe in there. And if you need to double check, because I struggle with this myself, did I put the probe in? Is it too deep? Did you go, is it touching a bone? It could be in the wrong spot. So you can also get one of these nice little instant read thermometers. Okay. I got one of these and it's cool because it's got a magnet. So I just stick it on my fridge so I know where to find it. Instant read thermometer. And you can put that in the turkey breast all the way down and pull it out and make sure that it's 157 degrees all the way through. If not, you run it for longer, try to reposition your probe thermometer if you can. So that's a cool way of doing it. There's other ways that I've been seeing to cook turkeys. Um, there was an article recently in the New York Times Wirecutter magazine, online, that my uncle forwarded to me, where for smaller turkeys, they cook it in, this is crazy, in a bunt pan. In a bunt pan. So, why would so the idea is if you've ever heard of beer can chicken, it's the same idea. The bunt pan kinda creates this chimney, and you set the turkey carcass, you set the bird in the bunt pan. You put foil on top to cover the hole so it doesn't drip down, and then the bunt pan has, veggies or whatever in it, dressing stuff. Not dressing, but, like herbs and, aromatics. And that will catch all the drippings because it's fairly deep. And you cook your turkey in your oven vertically. I have no idea if this works or not, but supposedly it makes really crispy chicken, or not chicken, crispy turkey. Um, Maybe that's a time for another Thanksgiving experiment. What else can you do? Well, for the most part, at this point, if you're using this technique, you don't necessarily need to alternate the temperature every 30 minutes, like I was talking about. So my uncle says, go do 30 minutes at 450, then 350, 450, 350. I've also seen uh, variants on this where it says, just start for an hour at 450. That'll get you a nice, crispy, browned turkey skin. Then just dial it down to 325 and just let it finish cooking at 325. That probably works just fine too. But either way, the key is to have that thermometer probe that can give you an alert when that turkey hits the critical temperature of 157 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to put that link here um, in the chat. If I'll, I'm going to paste this into the chat. So you can see they're a thermometer company, but obviously, so they have a little bit of an interest in this, but I am not related with them in any way. I just happened to find that article, and it jives with everything else I've been learning about cooking Thanksgiving turkeys. So there's one other thing they discuss in this article, and that's the idea of, again, we have this two-body problem. You have this one entity that is the white meat, the breast meat, which doesn't want to be overcooked because it starts losing moisture once it gets above about 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to be, losing that. And then this dark meat that really wants to be more like 170 to 174 degrees Fahrenheit for it to really be optimized, not uncooked, but just optimized. And so they suggest a technique where you ice the turkey, the breast. So in this scenario, you're going to take your turkey out in the morning a few hours before you're ready to cook it. It should be completely thawed at this point. You don't want a frozen turkey. So make sure your turkey has been totally thawed before you try this. And you're going to fill up a couple of gallon freezer Ziploc bags with ice, and you put those on your counter or maybe in a sheet pan so that there's, so it doesn't drip everywhere. And you're going to take your turkey and you're going to turn it over so that the breasts are down and the bottom side is up. And you're going to let it sit there literally chilling on ice for about 2 to 3 hours before you cook it. What this is going to do is the dark meat, the legs, the thighs, that'll all be approaching room temperature, while the breast is 10 to 15 degrees colder than that. And this temperature difference presumably is maintained during your cook. And so what'll happen is by the time the breast reaches 157, that pull temperature, your thigh meat, your dark meat should be maybe 170, whatever. You can measure it, but it'll be warmer. And apparently this works. So it's another thing to try. So, I don't know if anybody has recipes they want to share, but it's this time of year, and it's stressful enough to have to deal with all the chaos of the holidays and Black Friday and relatives and everything. So if you can make a kick butt turkey and let that be the focus of the conversation, I think it'll be, it lends itself to a better dinner table conversation. Say, wow, that's a really great turkey this year. It's really dry. And when I've made it in this way, I kid you not, the true test of this recipe is the next day. Because if there's one thing you like about Thanksgiving turkey, it's having leftover turkey the next day, in some cases for the next week. But I've done this, and my turkey breast meat is still juicy after being in the fridge overnight when I make a turkey sandwich. And if you can pull that off, you've really knocked it out of the park. So, not much else that I got going on today. So I figured I would, share this stuff. But I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time off with your family, hopefully. Be safe. And I will see you in a future episode. Maybe next time I'll bring a camera. All right. Take it easy, everyone. Have a great day.